Welcome back, levelers. You're tuned in to another episode of High Level Chronicles, the podcast where we explore the ultimate fusion of video games, cannabis, and entertainment. I'm your host, Chris, as always, joined by my co-host, Brian. Today, we're really excited to have a special guest joining us. Not only is her birthday on 4/20, so happy belated birthday, by the way,
Indeed.
You may have even seen this person on Netflix from Cooked with Cannabis. But we have the one and only Chef Amanda Rios in the studio today. Amanda is going to bless us with all her culinary wisdom and cannabism. But coming up first, we're going to kick things off, as always, with our lightning level. What are our levelers out there leveling up on this week? You got a new favorite game? Maybe a new show you're catching up on, binging? Let us know. Hit us up on your favorite social media at HLC Podcast 420. Brian, I'm going to turn it over to you first. What have you been smoking on this week, bro? What have you been leveling up on?
I've been leveling on this week. Whoopie pie.
Whoopie pie.
Whoopie pie.
I'm guessing that's indica.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
of course.
I mean, that's you.
It is a very heavy sit your ass down indica too.
Oh, so couch lock.
And I love it.
Hey, I always like it. What you been? You know what? I'm not even going to ask because I know what you've been playing on.
You know exactly what I've been playing.
But everybody else don't. So
Call of Duty.
Yeah, then last night you ditched me though.
I did. We were playing Forza on the big screen last night with the surround sound, and it was absolutely awesome. I was having a blast.
Ditched me for Forza.
Yes, sir.
It's okay. What about you been watching anything? Catching up on anything? You just been busy working and just gaming?
I've been wanting to catch up on Fallout, but work is getting in the way of that right now. So I think I have off Thursday, and I will be catching up on it then.
I'll tell you, that's, I'll just jump in. I've still been playing the hell, of course, out of the new season of Overwatch 2, while leveling up on some 91 Supreme, which is it's a fucking solid sativa leaning hybrid. Now it's about what we had talked about last week, right? It's about a 70% maybe in there. But dude, it's perfect for me. And of course, grinding out Rebirth with you, even though our favorite little high trip isn't there anymore.
They took it away, man.
I know, it sucks, but it happens. But on top of that, me and the wife, we've been watching Fallout on Prime Video.
Don't ruin it for me, man.
Dude, I'm loving it so far. I think we're on episode 6, maybe. We're not finished with it yet, but man, I'll tell you, we've been smoking on that Purple Rain, which is that heavy couch lock indica too. It's just like, wild. But what about some of our levelers, man? What do you see out there?
Some of our levelers. Let's see here. David M says, I've been leveling up on some Skywalker OG while diving back into Red Dead Redemption 2. There's just something about riding through those landscapes with a good buzz that hits different.
Hey, Red Dead Redemption 2's got some good graphics sometimes. I mean,
at Big Meanie G77 said, I've been enjoying some Blue Dream while watching Rebel Moon 2 on Netflix.
I never watched the first one. I heard so many bad things. And I'll tell you why. I mean, if anybody knows me, it's because I'm a Star Wars fanatic. And they say it's just a ripoff of Star Wars, essentially. And it's not good. So I just haven't watched it. I know the new one came out just recently, but it's kept me from watching it. But it's also, I don't know. I'll probably watch it. I haven't watched Dune either.
Let's see here. Who's next here? Dougie did it 89 says, I've been playing on some classic Mario Kart and trying out this new indica blend that I don't even remember the name of it. But it definitely makes Rainbow Road a little bit more chill.
Bro, Rainbow Road is the shit. My wife plays Mario Kart all the time. So that's her game, right? That's what she plays. She plays with her friends and family back home and stuff sometimes. And anytime Rainbow Road, she's never beat me on Rainbow Road. Never. Like I'm the Rainbow Road master. So anyway, levelers, that sounds like a fantastic selection of nugs and entertainment. Now, let's get cooking with this episode. I always got to throw a pun in. Chef Amanda, let's get into it. Your bio says you're a chef at large with Southern culinary mastery. Now, that sounds fancy. Why don't you tell us and the listeners just a little bit about yourself before we dive into all the cooking stuff?
actually from Diana, Georgia. So I'm from a small town, and the older I get and the more people I'm around, I realize like we really are raised so differently. So just like that aspect of hospitality, like professionally is one thing, but if you have ever been to someone's home down south and you understand what it is to be taken in, like the whole experience is a hug. You are welcomed in. You know why you take your shoes off? Because they clean this floor all the time to make sure that it is sparkling for your arrival. And, these are types of people that have carpet. You wonder why? Because it's soft. That's why. It's a loving home, like you walk in, there's food, you smell it, you see desserts. Oh, they made beverages. You don't just get canned sodas. These people make tea, we make lemonade. Like everything is like that. And so, like, the older I get, the more I realize, like, this actually is fancy because people don't take that kind of care anymore. Like, it's a luxury to even have those types of friends that still entertain you when you come over. So much of the time we go over to people's houses and you just, so what are we doing?
Yep, just sit around.
Order some pizza.
Right.
Because you're in California now, right?
I am.
So I'm curious, what made you decide to move to California?
Money, the
South?
weather, the blue state. Like, there's a lot of freedom out here. Like, it's easy to move. It's even though yes, it is expensive. I also moved because we went legal. Like, I don't see a purpose in. I had to be smart about this. When I really started playing around with like making edibles and doing pecan pies and sweet potato pies, the reality was like too many people knew about this and this was still highly illegal. And even me going back and forth, I was living in Atlanta and like even visiting home, that puts me on Interstate 75 and people are literally constantly being pulled over, pulled over, pulled over, pulled over. Like, I had to be smart about this. And I was like, all right, well, this is something I do want to do. And I saw it for what it was and what was going on in Colorado. So instead of continuing to play those games in Atlanta, it was time to go. Like, if I wanted to be serious about it. And at that point, birthday, pot's very serious in my life.
So I got to ask, you're talking about the pot, Colorado. Your birthday really is on 4/20.
Yes.
So
4/20.
that must be so special for someone who literally makes a living in the cannabis world. Do you do anything special to celebrate that every year? Or
honestly, my big thing on 4/20 and my birthday in general, it's my personal New Year. And so, however I kind of see myself living is how I would like to spend my birthday. Like, what is this next phase of life going to be? That's kind of like how I like to spend it. So if it's a relaxed vibe, it's a relaxed vibe. But this year, my husband and I also co-own a food truck. But this year we've done well enough where I can come back full time, where I'm not taking gigs on the road anymore. We're doing this full time. I'm taking over the marketing. We're doing more festivals, things like that. And so for this birthday, it was cool to me to just have all my friends and family come out to our truck, smoke one. People brought me a bunch of weed. Like,
oh, hell yeah.
I didn't need to go to the dispensary, even though, like, yeah, you get specials. It's a special day. Like, I don't buy weed on 4/20. I see what people bring me.
Yeah, so they, dispensaries always have specials on 4/20 for the most part, right? So dispensaries also usually have specials for your birthday. So I'm wondering if you can get like double. You probably won't be even double percent.
I've only ever made it once. Normally, I never need to make it. People are like, hey, I brought you something. Hey, I brought you something. We're like, what do you want for your birthday? I like green. Cash or weed. They both work for me.
Hey, green's perfect. You mentioned the food truck. That now you said I tell you, my absolute favorite sandwich in the world is a torta. And I saw your food truck has some, or at least used. I don't know if you all change your menu often, but I took a look. I saw it and I was like, oh man, I bet that's bomb. I like.
Yeah, we're actually a family-owned and operated truck. So it's me, my husband, and my mother-in-law. She actually does the tamales, and the fish tacos are a play on what she used to make them as kids. So even me coming in and marrying in, I bring a lot of the hospitality, but also just like the culinary school shit of like the numbers and the corporate stuff, the marketing, like all that stuff y'all see on Instagram, the website, all that kind of stuff. That's all me.
That's awesome.
So, it's a cool thing. Yeah, it is. But the tortas, the tamal torta, that's like it's a different kind of love language, Like, we do sandwiches, but a torta is just very, very different.
It's all in the bread.
It is. It's
It's
the
bread.
bread. It's the preparation of the bread, and it's also like when you build a torta, you're building both sides. It's funny with sandwiches, we build up, but with a torta, you're building out, like you're building both sides of this because it's supposed to make something real. So I've learned a
Yeah,
lot
I got
actually
into
cooking with
tortas in
them.
Reno. I
Oh
lived in
yeah.
Reno, and just up the street from us, literally not even a half a mile away, was just a little food place that had a little itty bitty market in it with some just random stuff, but it was called Jalisco's. And he had tortas, and he made homemade pastry. Well, his wife made the pastries,
Mm.
like homemade donuts and pies and all this stuff. And he made the torta. I haven't found one yet that beats his. So I might have to come out to California and compare, do a little comparison.
Right? Yeah, and they're also from the coast, so we do fish, shrimp, and mixed those tortas. That's like that's our big thing, are the tamal tortas and then the fish and shrimp tortas.
Nice.
Sounds
So,
pretty awesome.
Amanda, I think myself and our listener, I know I'm super curious. And how did you first get into cooking with cannabis? Was it something you were always interested in, or did it just how did that come about?
Cooking is one of those things, growing up down south, especially being a woman, you do. Like, we still get raised to learn how to cook. Honestly, if you go where I'm from, you can throw a rock and find a girl that can cook. I promise you. So, like, adding weed to this
I can hear
actually
your
is not
accent
that
still a
hard
little
when you
bit.
know how to cook. Yeah, especially if I get comfortable. So, like, or if you hear me cursing at somebody, that's when you be like, oh, there it is. But where we're from, honestly, you can throw a rock and find a girl that can cook. And low key, weed is nothing but an herb. This isn't hard. Like, it's not hard. So for anybody that can cook, I can literally walk you through this by the phone. Like, if you can cook, I can walk you through this by the phone. So, like, I got into it after smoking for a while, and then somebody gave me some trash brownies. And, like,
Yes.
that was when, it was like chef brain. I can fix that. And it went from I can fix that to, but I don't even like brownies. Let's try this with like a sweet potato pie, pecan pie. Like, let's do some pound cake. That's a lot of butter for a pound cake. It's expensive, but it's delicious. And that's when I'm getting into like bacon fat. So I'm like, oh, well, if I can infuse butter, I can infuse extra virgin olive oil. All right, cool. So then I start smoking more. And I found this one dealer who actually was just very knowledgeable in flour, and that's actually really hard to find in a state where things are illegal, especially back then. And he was able to just really let me look, let me smell, let me smoke in a way where I could choose things that made sense now to the butter. So like I was kind of just moving around, not really knowing. I'm really like interested in terpenes. I'm just mixing and matching based on smell and what I feel like. And that really changed once I moved to California, because especially in a legal setting, now I can go to a dispensary, I can view this all out, like, and I have way more selection now too. And then also with the testing and knowing where things are coming from, I can also see all of this information that previously I've got these three things in my hand: smell and hope for the best. And this gave me so much more. So it was really just chef brain turning on and wanting to have things that were better and tasty. But then, it went from, all right, well, we've had enough of sweets. Well, if I can do it with sweets, I can do it with savory. Why not? All right, well, we can do a whole dinner. We can do brunch. It really just kind of went from there.
That's what the wife and I, we didn't go anywhere for Thanksgiving this past year. So our Thanksgiving was fully infused.
I believe in Thanksgiving.
With butter and oils and stuff. So I had the turkey rubbed with butter. All the sides, butter was, it was a good one. It was a fun
one.
And I have no idea what I'm doing with making butter, so I don't know what the percentage was, but we felt good.
That actually was one of my favorite things I did in a pandemic. Was I did a Thanksgiving pop-up and I did a litmus brunch pop-up, and it was just for pickup because a lot of us, like, especially I was living in Long Beach at the time, and during pandemic, they shut our city down totally, so we were not even coming outside. And and it took a toll on a lot of people's mental health, just being inside, and this constant don't go outside. And so, like, especially like for a lot of stoners, it was akin to like the old days when we used to smoke together. You know, when you went to your pot dealer's house and you never knew who was going to be over there, but you went, you got what you needed, you had a little conversation. You know, they were really the therapist before therapy was cool. And it was nice to do that in pandemic. And it was like a shout out to that. And Thanksgiving made me think of that because that was like one of the actual coolest things is I got to meet so many people that had seen me on Cook with Cannabis that lived in the area that were by themselves through the holidays. And like very specifically, like, yeah, we did major hits too, like no less than 125 milligrams. Because I was like, I'm not for beginners. I'm an ownership. Like
that's what I'm
it's
talking
a holiday,
about.
And it's a holiday. We're trying to play back.
Yeah, turn up. Shit.
Exactly.
Go in or don't.
No, really. But also, I think that's the superpower of my birthday. I don't know if I've ever been so high I can't function. Like, I don't know if that's possible. I accidentally
that happened
ate
to me for one of the first times last week, or a couple weeks ago. I think I told Brian. It wasn't even. So I got it from the dispensary. It was on sale. I think it was just part of their 420 specials, and I think I ordered it just to try it. It's 100. I think it's 100 or 150 milligram RSO capsule, and I took it, and yeah, it hit me later. I think me and Brian, I think we were playing Rebirth at the time, and I kept saying, "Man, it's hitting me." Like,
yeah, we were. Yep.
And when we got off, dude, I was laid back on the couch like I usually do every night with the wife to watch a show, and I think I've fallen asleep. Like it had me. I didn't even know what I was doing. And lo and behold, and I say this is like those people talk about drunk priming. I didn't order anything on Prime, but my favorite little snack in the world, I just thought we just had a Munchies episode for 420, is that fucking Nerdy Nuts peanut butter. And I got on Nerdy Nuts when I was out of my mind, and I think I ordered another $100 worth of Nerdy Nuts just to find out that I ordered the same ones 2 days prior, and so I got double the stuff now.
Oh man!
So that one got me. I was like, ooh yeah.
We balling in peanut butter over here.
Peanut butter. Brian, you do some concoctions. What's you?
I do, man. I do. I make a lot of butter and honey. I make simple treats, muffins, some small cakes and stuff like that. Pineapple upside down cake and stuff. Nothing crazy. We do some like infused mac and cheese.
Wait, it is. Pineapple upside down cake is southern thing.
Where are you from?
I'm from West Virginia.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
boy.
There we go. I was like, pineapple upside down cake.
It's so crazy. We're both from West Virginia, but now we both live in Maryland.
Yep.
We never knew each other until just a year ago, if that, roughly. So.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I'm from a small little town called Paw Paw. It's on the tippy top of a mountain in the middle of nowhere.
We love this. I love towns that we've never heard of. Me too.
You blink and you pass my town.
We got a McDonald's when I graduated high school.
I still don't. Pissed. I think they got a dollar store now.
Ooh.
They've upgraded.
Dollar store or Dollar General?
A Dollar General.
I was going to say, everywhere's got Dollar General now. Everybody got Dollar General.
But do they have Dollar General Market?
I don't even know what that is.
That is.
See, we have a Dollar General Market.
Okay.
What is that?
I think that means it has groceries too.
So groceries, like full, like full groceries?
Yeah.
Like ours has like chips and lunch meats,
snacks
and
stuff.
No,
it's got a refrigerator section. It's a whole like low key market now.
Interesting. So speaking of Southern stuff, so that pineapple upside down cake, man,
yes,
how do you feel, Amanda, that the Southern foodways and the culinary history intersects with cannabis? Seems like there could be some really interesting fusions.
It's fun. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's also happening now. Like this is real life, is what we're all doing. Like Brian taking this, me taking this, you making your recipes that you have learned from your family, but also adding your love of cannabis to this.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is literally how fusion happens now. Even in our household, like my husband's native Mexican, this fusion is happening now because weed comes with me everywhere we go. Like this is happening. So, it's sharing with our families too. I know since I've been working with cannabis, a lot more of my family members have been more comfortable with it,
yes.
and even us continuing to work, continuing to thrive, all of those things and while also listening to where, hey, actually, I think this could benefit you, but here's a fun way to do it. I think that is a lot of the work that we're doing now, especially for those of us down south, because it's just a very different thing when we talk about the legality back home versus what we're experiencing in these other states now. And so even if you do have a liberal mindset and you are open, that doesn't necessarily make it smart or safe, depending on your situation, your job, and where you live.
So you're in Northern California now? Is that what you said?
No, I'm in Southern California. I'm in Orange County.
Oh, Southern California. Orange County.
It's too cold there. I made a lateral move.
Do you find, since California's been legal for a long time, compared to like Maryland here, just hit recreational legal last year, and medical company, do you find, and I've asked, I think one of our guests this before, Brian, but do you find the pricing, well, you said you don't really go to dispensaries because everybody gives you stuff, but I'm just wondering, like, everything seems so much cheaper over there than it is here. Like, things are outrageous. Like, we're talking, if you want an ounce here, is $300. So,
okay, now it's cheaper than that. But you know what? Like, it depends on who you talk to. So, like, if you're going to the fancy dispensaries out here, then absolutely it's going to be crazy high. But like, I also see where the cannabis industry is really, really digging in deep on this marketing and like, hey, this is for real stoners, or hey, this gets you really high, and like very specifically like going after people to kind of like get them to believe certain things about this terpene
designer.
The designer weed, the high percentage versus the low percentage versus the mid percentage. But really, we all have an endocannabinoid system, and we should more so be concerned about that. And because it's an interesting thing, but as a knowledgeable consumer, I don't find a problem finding affordable weed out here when I do go to the dispensary. But also, like, I buy in bulk. Like, my worst case scenario, like, buy in bulk, because that eighth is always going. It's like wine; they got to pay for the bottle.
I agree.
I don't buy eighths. I literally only look for ounces or half ounces because they don't sell anything more than an ounce.
I do. I do the mix and matches a lot, so you can get like 4 eighths for like a set price. You know what I mean? And
I remember when I first moved.
That's
out
a little
here,
different.
That was a thing. I think the last time I bought an eighth was like a few weeks ago. I did buy that Tyson Toadstool eighth because I just need to see what was up. It was pretty fucking awesome.
They used to have buffets here. When you went to the dispensaries, they had the buffet right before COVID. They had all the weed out, and it was like bag your own ounce, bag your own hat, whatever. And you could pick the ones you wanted, drop it in, and then they charged you by the weight. So they stopped all that.
California.
They stopped everything. See, that's what I'm saying. We're so far behind. Like, that was just
those were all pirate dispensaries too. You go 1 week, and then 2 weeks later, that place got raided by cops. So you got to find another one.
That's how DC was for so long. That's how DC was for so long. So many of my buddies shops out there.
Initiative. Like, I used to go there all the time. I don't go anymore. DC's like Gotham now. I don't go during the day. Yeah, and they only, it's like,
I wanted to go down for the 420 festival to see Wu-Tang Clan, but I didn't even go down.
So I'll tell you, I'm hearing I heard a little bit more of that Southern twang coming out. So let's just get a little more personal with another question here. How much, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, how much do you actually consume, and what's your favorite way to enjoy cannabis?
I'm a smoker. I probably, how much?
When you say smoker, are you a...
Oh, I roll joints, literally.
Joints? Okay.
I roll joints. I was like, my little sitting right here beside me. I roll joints.
The old school, I love it. That's the way I love joints. That's what I
consider it like a part of my meditation, honestly. Like, I like to roll tips. That is something I like to do. Take my time. I roll typically about 4 for the day. Like, if you see me out and about, it probably looks like I smoke all day, but like, I probably don't get through more than 4.
Okay.
I just like to have a consistent smoke. And then if I'm working, I like level 1 tabs because they hit quickly.
What is that?
ADHD.
I don't know what that is. Level 1 tabs.
Listen, one
Brian,
of my favorite
do you know what you're talking about?
I've heard of them. I've not seen them or had them.
Say this ain't not in Maryland, that's for sure.
No,
I was like,
no.
do I have a little empty case? Because I usually do. These are one of my favorite products on the market. It's water soluble. It's a little pill. Those things hit at like, I think the lowest one might be like 50 milligrams, but if you get the super hash tabs, they're like 100, 125. They are excellent to work on. When I'm telling you, zoom, 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 zoom. But my favorite strain of all time, still Blue Dream. I'm still absolutely a Blue Dream. Blue Dream is my thing. I like a good hybrid. I'm a sativa diva when I gotta work, but Blue Dream as a hybrid for me gives me both of what I need. And I can just, it's a vibe.
Nice.
I can dig it.
So let's switch gears a bit here. Let's talk Cooked with Cannabis. How did you get on Netflix, and how did that come about? Like, how did that even happen, and how was that experience?
Man, it feels like another life. Like, low key, it feels like a whole nother life, because like that was before pandemic. That was before I got married. Like, that feels like such a different time. It's funny, and it wasn't that long ago. Like, well, I guess filming kind of was, because we filmed that in 2019. So yeah,
so right at the start of the pandemic, right before the pandemic hit.
Yeah, that was our last real summer, and so we were just like living our life. I had just gone on a trip to Venice. My best friend had gotten married. I was in this hellaciously toxic relationship. I was also carrying all these clients. Like, I had a frat house at UCLA that I had somebody else working. I had another client who was a beauty influencer, and then I was still working with the bros. So I was running, and I was in the Cannabis Chefs Union. This random group had like all these different chefs, and especially in the cannabis community, all of us work in very different spaces. And coming from culinary, I do not identify with most of the people who work in cannabis, because I've had to work corporate. I just don't. Like, I've had to have rules. I've had to have contracts. I've got to do what I say I'm going to do when I say I'm going to do it. I don't get passes. Like, it's why they call me chef. I don't get passes. So it's been a very different experience. So like, working with the Cannabis Chefs Union, we had a lot of people who knew a lot about weed, but not a lot about food. And that actually gave me an opening, because whenever there were these real chef jobs, there weren't very many of us. There are a bunch of us who knew about cannabis, not so many of us who actually have mastered the culinary aspect of this. So every time there was an opportunity, Brooksy was putting me forward, putting me up. And I was getting a lot of work in cannabis. I'd worked with Andre Drummer, and I'd done a few events with like Spotify, HBO, and YouTube. And so by that point, like, just outside of like weed, I've steadily been working in the culinary space for 21 years now. And so that afforded me just a little bit more light in spaces where I probably wouldn't have thought that I needed to be in. So that was actually a really cool opening for me, was getting into cannabis, because I could do the work. I constantly was being put into work, and Netflix ended up being one of those.
So what was that shooting schedule like?
We shot, I'm trying to remember, because I was working, and I remember getting off from work.
I mean, was it like long hours?
It was maybe 2-3 days. It was literally 2-3 days. I literally left work, went to my apartment. I had to text the PA that I had gotten off from work, because I came in after everybody else, because I was like, yo, I can't take off. We got a dinner party tonight. And they were like, what? I was like, yeah, no, I work. And they're like, okay, just tell us when you're done. We'll send a car. So I literally got off of a dinner party, packed a bag. They sent a car for me. I think it was like, for real, 11 It was like 11:30, 12 o'clock to take me from Long Beach to LA. Woke up at 7 a.m. to, hey, what are you going to wear? Let's go through this. And like, yeah, we're like shuffle through from like this one hotel to the building that we're shooting at. And it was a very quick, all right, are you dressed? Okay, cool. Now you have what you're wearing. Now we need to put you with our stylist so they can figure out what apron you're wearing and what else you're doing. And it was the funniest thing. Like, there were no Black people on set except for the attorney. So I had my edges wrapped. I had a scarf on, because we're not shooting yet. So I have no reason to take this off until it's go time. And they're like, this doesn't match. Are you going to be wearing this? I was like, what are you talking about? They're like, the headpiece. I said, it's not a headpiece, it's a scarf. I'm just laying my edges. I'm going to take it off for the show. Oh, okay. Well, we can accessorize it. I don't want to accessorize it. I'm not going to wear it.
I'm taking it off.
I'm going to take it off.
I'll just do that right before we get ready.
And so I was like, let me rephrase. I'm finishing my hair. They're like, but what about the scarf? Okay, you know what? Let's just stop talking. So I was already aggravated. Like my producer really didn't know a whole lot about me actually at all because yeah, it's always the funniest thing when people are like, your birthday's 4/20. I'm like, yeah, you had to check my ID and everything else for me to be on the show. It's funny that over everybody's head. I see now where like they really didn't know anything about me coming in. Like they just and that was just on really one producer. Like they just didn't know a lot about me coming in. And so I also kind of shocked the shit out of them, I think, with my skill set. I wasn't really supposed to bang out like that, but not realizing at the time I was still very much a private chef. We had to make 8 dishes of everything we did. I do this every night. I literally do this for 8 people every night, course by course. This is nothing.
That's like
to
nothing
me.
to you then.
Exactly.
I'm sitting there thinking like 8. Fuck that. Like I can't make 8 dishes. I'll make 2.
Baby, I was in Olympic condition then. Like I really was. Like now I might be moving a little slower. I can definitely still do it, but look a little slower. But not at the time. This was my Monday to Thursday. I was like, oh, that's all I gotta do. Fuck. All right, cool.
Wow.
And so, like we banged it out and it was cool because like out the gate, my first dish was still one like I love that dish. It was that sweet corn gazpacho with halibut ceviche, I think. I forget. But it was the hat trick with the smoke, like it was really wanting to show cannabis in this smart light, but in a tasty light, in a fun light. Like sometimes I feel like there's a wide gap, like it's like either super stoner and doesn't give you a whole lot to the Michelin and completely unrelatable, but it's got weed in it. So it's great, right? But in real life, y'all, most of us spend most of our time at upscale casual. That's where most of us really spend most of our money, most of our time, and where we meet up with friends. It's where we go on dates. It's where we go by ourselves. It's where we even go get our pickup. Like we spend our time in upscale casual. And that's like,
absolutely.
that's where I feel like that's where I feel like that's really my bag, because that's where I get to see the most people, relate to the most people, feed the most people. And you can take that set and you can kind of experiment with that highbrow while also being able to do things with the lowbrow that other people might not do. It's a really fun middle space. And I think that's where cannabis allows us to be even more playful, because I think there's still a lot of room there.
Have you ever had the opportunity to work with any of the celebrity chefs in that area? Like, there's so many over there. I know that.
I know a lot of them. Like, that's where chefing gets weird. We don't really have a reason to work with each other once you get to a certain level, because are we both going to get paid the same?
Or I should say interact, do you all have like do you all go hang out, like the chefs go hang out together at certain, like you said, like, get together ever, or everybody just kind of does their own thing? And
I have my chef friends. Like I think that's where it gets to, like, I think some of us are very into having chef friends. Some of us are not. I have a lot of chef friends, but we don't see each other like that unless it's about some money, because we all work a lot. Like that's like the one thing that I do love about chef culture is that it's not a hustle to us. It's not a grind. This is the lifestyle. Like we like the rush. It's not about being broke. It's about how many people can I feed? Like, and how fast can I do it? Like, can I have a $750 hour? Like, can I do that? Yeah, I can. Like, let's do it. Like that, like the business of food is a very different thing. Like we are odd folk, but the ones of us that are really tight with it, like, yeah, we talk to each other. We got to, because we need somebody to bounce ideas off of that makes sense. Your friends and family are friends and family. They're not supporters of your business. Like they didn't go to culinary school with me, so they can't have these chats about theory. And especially like once my grandma passed, like I needed other people to talk to. And actually having chef friends was something that became more important to me, honestly, when she passed away, because that was the person that I talked to all the time about food and what's next and what do you think would be dope with this, and like, why don't we try that? But yeah, having chef friends, it's cool. It's unfortunate. We don't hang out unless it's time to work. We really don't. We'll be like, hey, so
I was asking, because we have a couple restaurants here that are owned by some famous chefs that live out in California. They're on TV and everything. So Michael Vitaggio, I don't know if you know who he is. Michael Vitaggio owns Tasting Room in Frederick. Also owns Family Mill. They changed the name Showroom.
Yeah, I was like, what is it now?
So they've changed a few things, but I just find that there's a. So let me ask this: have you ever had a kitchen disaster involving cannabis?
No.
Or what about a kitchen disaster? Have you ever had something that just went out of whack?
Have you ever had an idea that you thought was going to work but did not?
Yeah, something like.
So the fun part about being like an actual chef, right? This is my job. I don't test kitchen on anybody's time or money. Test kitchen is for the house. Test kitchen is for school. Test kitchen is for my money. But if you ever see me out and about and this is paid work, this has already been rehearsed. This is a plan. Like there's a notion.
I didn't even know that actually was that.
Yeah, no, we don't.
I thought
walk
a lot of
into
times
anything.
you all just went off the whim of like, okay, what do I got?
Oh,
sort of like they say with what's that show? Chopped. Here's what you got. Here, you know what can I make with this today?
Absolutely not. You know, with as many people as we have, and like you got to keep in mind, like these are people's lives that I'm dealing with. Like when they call me in, we're charging them thousands of dollars for a birthday, an anniversary, a celebration. Like these are things that are imprinted very specifically. Like they're already important to you. And now you've asked me to be a part of it. It's their wedding, you know, it is this commemoration of whatever it is, you know, but it's all deeply important to them. Like, this is not something that I can take lightly, because once you've involved me in it, I take this on as my responsibility too, to facilitate this thing you want to do. So if you guys tell me, hey, Amanda, High Level Podcast, we just got this great deal. We want to have a dinner and we want to celebrate every sponsor who really took us to the top, right? Think about how serious you take that. You want to be impressive. You want this, you want that. Yeah. You're not going to give me 10 bands for no reason. You're going to expect me to send you a contract, tell you what I'm going to do, what this is going to look like. And you're going to, and you want to look and feel like money when you spend it, you know? And so that also comes with a very real air of professionalism. That's not just an air, but it's very real, you know? And especially once we involve cannabis, you're also now trusting me so much. And with these people that you have just told me are so important, you know? And so everything is very rehearsed. It is all written down. It is all going to plan. If there is something that goes out of plan, that's okay. We have a plan for that. I mean, like the biggest
so you have a
disaster,
plan B and C.
Yeah, I mean, like a kitchen disaster for my team is me and my sous chef, for instance. We put too much yeast in the Korean corn dog batter and it overflowed. We still made 375 corn dogs that night. You know what I'm saying? It's like, is it a disaster? Yeah, you know, we cleaned up and we also still made 375 corn dogs. So it's like, yeah. So it's like at this level, and especially with the amount of money that we charge people, and more seriously as I take this, because it is a gift to be a part of so many people's lives. Like, it is so fun to me to be included in some of the most special moments that they'll never forget. And like when I see their posts, like they'll say, oh, happy anniversary. And it'll be like someone that was celebrating their 10th anniversary not too long ago. And they tagged me and said, you know, it's such a special day. And I remember Chef Amanda made this thing that my mom used to make for me. And I'm like, you know, it's 10 years later and they really still think about me on their anniversary. And to me, that is such an honorable space to live in.
Absolutely. So you were also involved in teaching cannabis or a cannabis extension course at a college with a couple other cannabis chefs. What was that experience like?
That was wild, because Minlay and Miguel are people I really look up to, and I just kept going, how the fuck did I get in this room? No, see, I was just like, how am I here? And it was dope, though. It's really cool to see people taking cannabis seriously, but also who want to figure out how to move forward in food in a way that is beneficial to more of us than it is exploitational. Like we have a lot of work to do in cannabis to make things right. Like that's something that I feel like cannabis has a chance to do that so many other sections of America don't have the chance to do. But for the amount of money that the cannabis industry makes, like actually cannabis can make a lot of things right. Like we can do whatever we want, low key. Like and that's something I don't think a lot of us have gotten into enough, is like, whatever your job is right now, those are transferable skills to cannabis, and you can literally do what you do better and whatever the fuck you want. I say that as a chef who did that. Like, it is very different. And so teaching people that cannabis not only is this beautiful source of life in a plant, but it is also something very real and scientifically based. You've got both of those things, but you've also got a culture of food. You've also got a culture of people who have known how to cultivate this plant. And so really taking that and making the history make sense. Like, I think for a lot of us, we have Reaper Madness to look back on. We have the laws that we know. Like, we've got, like my shirt, Dare. We've got all these really terrible, like, we've got these really terrible ways that cannabis have been explained to us, And so part of what I do think is important, why that extension class was so important, was taking the history of both of these narratives with Black American culture, but also the history of cannabis, but taking the mythology out and showing where they do intersect in a very real way. We didn't just all start smoking in the 70s. Like,
didn't just come out of nowhere and like, oh,
yeah. And you'd be surprised how many people think that. People really think that. Like, oh, yeah.
That's just when the war on drugs became popular, and that's when they made it what it shouldn't be. That's all that came out of that.
Understanding.
I was just interested to find out that they even taught college courses like that. Like, that's
really cool.
Amazing to me. Like, that's cool as shit.
We have to also be ready to have these conversations out and about. Like, older folks who talk to me, especially older Black folks who talk to me about food, they love talking to me because I know a lot about food history. And so one of my favorite things is that intersection of food, music, and cannabis. Like, especially in Black culture, like, you've got a lot of jazz musicians and blues musicians who are constantly singing about weed, but you know what? And they were also right behind that singing about chicken and waffles. Like, a lot of people believe chicken and waffles is a down south thing, but y'all are from West Virginia. Who did y'all see making chicken and waffles at the same time? We didn't grow up with that. None of us did.
No.
That's some shit that's actually out of Pennsylvania that people caught up on the Great Migration as they were traveling. And then Supper Club in New York, in Harlem, they were the first ones to actually put on the menu, because the jazz musicians would be up so late and they'd be like, they got the munchies after their show. And like, it's too early for breakfast, but it's too late for dinner. So boom, chicken and waffles. But that's something awesome. That's in a lot of music. Something new today. Yeah, and both of those things are in a lot of music. You hear a lot. I thought it was a Southern
thing all this time. I thought that the whole time. That's a Southern thing. That's why.
Yeah, and those guys were Southern, right? And those guys were Southern, but they're musicians on tour, so they were well-traveled guys who could mix and match and say, "Hey, we want y'all to make this thing." And that's also how Roscoe's got into it, because those guys were actually in the music business before, and so
Roscoe's chicken and waffles.
Yeah, so like that music connection is really, really deep actually when it comes to chicken and waffles, but that's tour food.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
And musicians love weed.
Brian, you got something else?
My dog being loud. Sorry. No, I think we've kind of hit everything.
I gotta ask, what is the deal with picture of you with Dave Chappelle, Morgan Freeman? What is that about? Tell me you got to smoke weed with. Tell me you got to smoke weed with Dave Chappelle.
Actually, I smoked with him. I smoked with him a few times. Because we actually before, right after pandemic, I actually connected with a chef to do some work at in LA. Chef Nikki Stewart, she had hit me. She needed some bodies for Netflix's A Joke brunch for Kevin Hart some years back. And so I came, I did that, and we got along really well. She had some openings on her team and needed a new CDC. So a few months later, I became her chef de cuisine, and Chappelle was one of her clients. Questlove, another set of her clients. We did Blue Note Jazz Festival. We did some stuff for Super Bowl in Phoenix. Jesus, we've done a lot of work. We've met a lot of people.
And you have done a lot. You have done a lot.
And so with Chappelle as one of her clients, we've done a lot of his dinner parties for different meetings, different setups, all kinds of stuff. And Morgan Freeman was the one time I was like, all right, you know what? I do want a picture. Because normally, I love the work. I really do love the work we do. And people are people to me. As long as you
Yeah, the
guys
picture's
are
the last thing you're really
smiling,
thinking of, right? I mean,
yeah. As long
it's like
as y'all are
you don't
smiling while
think
you
that.
eat, I'm happy. Like I would, you know what I mean? Like long as you're smacking. If I see you lick a finger, I did my job. You know, I don't need a picture. I need to see you lick your fingers or do something that fancy people shouldn't do. You know, that's
It's
what I
all
want to
about that
see.
motion. When I take that bite, I'm like,
And and he actually came back to the kitchen. When boss lady said she wanted, like we were doing Morgan Freeman, I said, oh shit, okay, we got like 48 hours notice. It was so funny. I had fucking food poisoning legit 48 hours prior to that. And like, I had food poisoning on the 405. That is a nightmare. And I got my shit together and 24 hours later got on a plane to go do that because I wasn't going to miss Morgan Freeman. Like, I'm not going to miss the voice of God. What? So
right.
she tells me like, hey, we really got to pull out all the stops. And like, I said, okay, I got a menu I haven't actually pulled out since my grandma passed. I think we should pull some things for this. And he commented that that this was one of the best meals he had ever had in his life. And that meant the world to me because very specifically, like for instance, one of the dishes I do, the collard green risotto, that is an old school dish. You know, it's just pot liquor and collard greens.
I just love risotto, and
yeah,
it's just so delicate to make though. Like it's not good at some places, and some so it's yeah.
And what we do is we take the pot liquor from the greens, and that's actually how we keep hydrating that risotto. We'll start with white wine, and then take the pot liquor from the collard greens, shred those collars up, then stir them in with a little Osceola cheese, and then we finish that with the smoked turkey that we use to season the greens.
I'm hungry, yeah.
Right?
I know, right?
But you know, y'all are from the South, so you know that's a different language to us. When slow food is a very different language to us. And like especially for our elders, that is how you gain their respect is the time taken in something, you know? And we gained his respect that evening, and like he came back there, he gave us all hugs, and like we looked at him, he said, do you want to take a picture? And I said, I would love to. And I've been on Team Chappelle for almost 2 years by that point, and Dave goes, I've never taken a picture with you. I said, no. He said, I'm getting in this picture. I said, cool, come on. So boom, we took that picture, and it was such a beautiful night. Like it was honestly one for the books. It was really such a beautiful night. I've never seen so many, like all of us are in awe of Morgan Freeman. Like, and he was such a good soul. Just the sweet, like honestly, so awesome. He spoke so much life into us. I can't.
So I got to ask too, was Dave Chappelle, is he just always funny? Is he always just funny when he's around? Is that what he does?
He's a person. And he's a person who's also very respectful and highly reverent of people who make food. Like he takes our job very seriously. He takes us very seriously. Like of the people I've had the privilege to work around, I will say I found him to be one of the most respectful of food makers.
Wow. After all the bad shit you hear people say about him and that they try to do. I mean, it's...
well, you know, people aren't everything you're not everything they say, and you're not everything they say, you know, like it's just what they say, but we're all human and we are all very complex individuals. And, you know, if I feed you, I'm sure you too will be nice. I've never fed someone that was mean to me. That's not how that works. Like, you know, like, so when people are like,
well, that means all the food's good then. That's all I'm going to say. Because if I get bad food, I'm going to get an attitude. I'm like, you know, and I can't lie when it comes to food.
But that's also where that love comes in and that skill comes in. And so, you know, that's what made being around that set of folks so nice, is that, you know, older folks, and not that he's like an old man or anything, but you know, there's a certain generation of us, and also being from Ohio and being raised a little differently, you know, we know what time it is when people really spend time on food for you, you know, like you know what happened if someone brings you a homemade cake on a platter. You're like, oh wow, like you really spent the day on it. And that still means something to folks.
Indeed.
It does.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I really need a pineapple upside down cake though.
Oh man, he talked about that. That's always been one of my favorites.
I don't eat cake, like normally. It's like the only cake that I will eat in my entire life.
I don't know, man. I love a red velvet cake. That's one of my favorites.
Woo!
I don't do icing very well.
Red velvet with the cream cheese icing.
Oh my God.
See, I can't do the icing, man.
And if you can cannabis that somehow, I'll take it. Butter, I guess, is the only way. But just use butter.
Actually, listen, I've had an infused red velvet bug cake before, and let me tell you, that's so problematic because I said I just need a regular one. I'm high now. Now I need a regular one because I just want a snack.
So let me ask you this: I want to get a little, just a tip for me, maybe even Brian. I don't know. Since you are the cannabis chef expert, when you decarb your cannabis, what's your process?
Actually, I do low and slow. I do low and slow, 200. I don't go above 200. And I honestly go as soon as I smell it.
So are you one of those that grind up everything, or do you leave your flour whole?
It depends on how I get that flour. So if I get a super densely packed flour that I know is going to have a bit of moisture on the inside, I'll go ahead and unpack that first. But if it's a pretty loose flour, I'll go ahead and leave it whole.
Yep.
Right. Brian, what's your process? I know is that what you
about the same. I'm anywhere from like 185 to 200 usually in my decarb, and I don't really have a timer for it. I just same thing. I start to smell it throughout the house, and then I'm like, all right, everything's ready to go.
Yes.
And then from there, it's either into a double boiler or a crock pot for me.
Exactly. Yes. I'm a fan of a double boiler.
Yes. Yep.
I have an ardent, so I just throw it in, put the lid on, hit decarb, and it does
we love ardent. We do love ardent. She's dope.
I haven't. So you actually know?
I met her. She's really, really dope.
Awesome.
Very smart woman. Like very smart woman. Like
that's awesome.
The people in cannabis, like it's so. I'm telling you, if there's one message I could get out to the world, whatever your transferable skills are, bring them to cannabis because people will appreciate you.
Absolutely, I can agree with that. Yeah, she's awesome. I gotta say, she's just off the stuff. Yeah, I've watched all the videos. Especially when she was with 2 Chainz. But that art, when I saw it, I was like, I gotta try it because I saw everybody raving about it on some of the local Facebook groups, and I'm like, I'm gonna give it a shot. That's how I made my last tincture. That's how I made the oil I made now. The butter is what I want to do
at a time, though, right?
No, the new one you can fit a whole ounce in the new one. So that's what or maybe it's 14 grams. I don't remember. It's either half.
I remember the old ones. You can only fit like an eighth in.
Yeah, they had a smaller one. I didn't want to mess with that because I like to make a batch of whatever.
I'm still mason jar shoddy over here.
Telling you, the double boiler is the way to go on it.
Amanda, this has been an absolute blast having you on. Before we let you go, though, as we do with all our guests, we got to hit you up with the one and only lightning level.
Let me ready myself.
This week's lightning level, when we come back, is brought to you by High Level Hydro.
Are you ready to level up your harvest? Look no further than High Level Hydro, Maryland's #1 seed and supply store. At High Level Hydro, we take you from seed to harvest with expert advice and top-notch products from AC Infinity, Mars Hydro, The Bucket Company, and more. Visit our website at highlevelhydro.com for a vast selection of premium seeds, cutting-edge grow supplies, and everything you need for a bountiful harvest. High Level Hydro, where success grows from seed to harvest. Your journey to superior yields starts now. Visit highlevelhydro.com or at High Level Hydro on your favorite social media.
And we're back with Chef Amanda. We're going to hit her with the lightning level. Amanda, how this works, we are going to just shoot a few questions to you. Just rapid fire answers, whatever comes into your head. Ready?
Ready.
See how this goes? Brian, I'm going to let you start. You can go ahead and hit her with the first one. First couple. Go ahead and give it the first couple.
If you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Ooh.
Neck bones and rice. Turkey necks. Wow. Not cow. Turkey.
Okay.
Right.
Favorite munchies when leveled up?
My husband's ceviche. He makes me ceviche, and I like to dress it up with Japanese mayo, crispy onions, crispy shallots, and hot sauce.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
What you got, Chris?
I request quickly.
What's your must-have ingredient in the kitchen? Cannabis or not? What's the must-have ingredient in the kitchen? Butter. Okay. And one last one here, and it's not really rapid fire, but I just want your thought. What do you think is the next big thing in cannabis cuisine?
Mm. Honestly, what we were just talking about, that real fusion, like people making their real life now into cannabis. I think that we've been living in fantasy cannabis and over the top cannabis for a while. And I think now we're going to really start seeing real life, like real life fusions and real life, like what is the food I make? I want that to be cannabis infused. I think that really is going to be the next wave, is seeing people really start to seeing cannabis infiltrate our actual lives, not just the fantasy and the vacation parks.
And one last question. What are your thoughts on the cannabis drinks? Do you like them or not? The
I'm a
THC
smoker.
drinks.
I don't have time for this. Like, I'm a smoker. Like, I still like flower. Like, that's probably my toxic trait, is that I really like flower. I like the feel. I like the smell. I like the plant. Like, I like to go outside and smoke. I like the wind to be blowing when it happens. Like, there's something about the natural part of cannabis I'm still very into. Like, I really don't like distillates and waxes like that either. So the drinks for me kind of fall in
Looking at
that
you,
same
Brian.
like processed section for me, you know? And even then, like, I don't really like rosin unless I know who pressed it. Like, my sous chef can do that. And so if I want something like that, I'll get it from him. But yeah, there's something about the mass processes that turn me off.
Okay.
Right. And last but not least, the one thing I really want to know, and I'm sure some others probably do too, is which you've mentioned a lot of people you've worked with and cooked with, but what's your dream celebrity to cook for?
I'd be lying if I said I had one. That part of my work is a lot of fun, but like, I'm trying to find a nice way to say that. I don't care about them like that. Like,
Okay. I know
like,
we just have a lot of like,
clients are all clients. You know, it's funny. Clients are clients, and so especially when you bring me into something, I have to interact with the human side of you, not whoever that is, and so I get a very different view of these people that is so personal. To me, it's just like if Brian said, "Hey, this is my birthday. This is what I want." You tell me, "Hey, this is my wife's thing, and this is what I want," and I'm right here with you. We're serious about this together. Like, I think now my dream clientele are people who just are looking to experience. Like, I think now I've grown to a different space of just wanting to have people experience. Like, there's so much going on in the world, and there's not a lot of joy that is just constant, like just constant. And that's something I really like about owning the food truck, is that now it just feels like that's what I provide. I provide constant joy and constant vibes. And so like now it's like I look to the guy who comes to my window and was like this the whole time. And then, you know, he has a taco and this lemonade and he's like, all right, see you later, Amanda. You know, like those guys who come up and they don't seem friendly, but they know me by name. Amanda, how's it going? Hey, how are you? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know Frank, I know Dean, I know these guys, they're my friends now. But to me,
awesome.
My dream is more of them, and more of them like to feel comfortable and to have a place that they can be regulars. Like, yeah, my dream clientele now are creating regulars that maybe didn't feel at home here.
Okay.
Great answers.
Yes,
Before
sir.
we close out this amazing episode, Chef Amanda, I got to ask, what's next on the horizon for you? If anything, any exciting projects, any words of wisdom to our levelers, any last things you want to say to everybody out there?
You know, summertime is coming, guys. Like, make this the summer we deserve, okay? Get your lick back from pandemic and get the summer you deserve. Like, it's 2024.
Absolutely.
We'll be outside in the streets all summer with this food truck. You can always find me off Birch in Santa Ana. And then we'll be doing some festivals and things like that this year. And hopefully, I'd like to actually start working with a bit more dispensaries, because I want to do something for budtenders, and I want to do things with them. Like, I want to actively do programming with them.
Nice.
I have a thing every once a month. when I go to the dispensary, I take them treats. So I take them like little brownie bites or cookies or something like that, and I take them in for all the budtenders at the dispensary that I go to.
Yeah, you think they actually eat that shit?
Oh, I know they do.
Oh, you know
Some
they
random
do.
guy coming in going, hey, I got something for you here.
They
It's from
know
my
who
work.
he is.
Oh, okay.
They know me by first and last name basis.
Gotcha. Well, levelers, you can check out all of Amanda's work at chefamanda.co and give her a follow on Instagram. Check her out at Chef Amanda's Busy. Is that right?
Yep.
Chef Amanda's Busy. Amanda, thanks again for joining us and dropping all those nuggets of wisdom. This was just a fun time. It was a masterclass for me in cannabis cuisine. I mean, I learned a lot, things I never even thought I'd learn on this episode. But again, thank you to all the levelers for tuning in. That's going to be a wrap for this episode. You all know what to do. Make sure give us a rate, subscribe, blaze it up with us every damn Wednesday. Big shout out to Chef Amanda one more time. What a great episode. Brian, I'm just going to say on that note, everybody stay leveled up. We are out.
Thanks for listening to High Level Chronicles. See you next time.
Thank you again for listening to High Level Chronicles. Please help us grow by leaving us a review wherever you listen to us at, whether it's Spotify, iTunes, Alexa. Your reviews will help our show grow and help us reach a broader audience. Also, we are always looking for new show sponsors, so please reach out if you're interested. You can hit us on our social media or email us info@highlevelchronicles.com. Thanks again for listening.